6:03, you're live.
Roll call?
Someone needs to call it to order,
I call to order.
and then you're gonna go through roll call.
Can we do roll call?
Sure.
Yeah, no language.
Commissioner Alston, Commissioner Barlow,
Here.
Commissioner Manigo. Here. Commissioner Rockman. Here. Commissioner Spitzoff. Here. Commissioner Brzezowski.
Here.
Councilmember LaPartie.
Here.
You have a quorum.
Cool.
Okay, old business. Oh, yeah, public art survey.
Wait,
We have to prove the minutes.
See, this is why I shouldn't do it.
just go thing by thing. Correspondence.
Oh. Call to order, roll call, correspondence. Do we have any correspondence?
No correspondence.
All righty. Approval of minutes. Has everyone had time to look them over?
After this, it seems like we do have a couple of petitions if you want to have that as an option.
Before or after?
It's up to you.
Anyone want to make a motion to approve the minutes?
Nice.
Second.
Should we ask for any further discussion?
For the minutes?
Yep.
Any further discussion for the minutes? No? Okay,
Then we're gonna call a roll.
okay.
Okay. Commissioner Barlow,
Aye.
Commissioner Manigo. Here. Commissioner Rockman. Here. Commissioner Spitzoff.
Here.
Commissioner Brzezowski.
Yes.
Passes.
Were you hearing or using?
You can hear yes, I, as it's identifiable as an affirmative or negative. Yep.
That makes me want to get creative. Okey-dokey, perfect.
All right, so I guess, yeah, before we get into old business, we have petitioners, as you put it. I don't know how to go about this.
You're doing
We
a
just-
great job.
Thank you.
Carrie might have a suggestion, she's great at this.
So we can add that on. You would ask if there are any petitioners in the room that are wishing to be heard. If they say yes, and you would ask them to identify themselves, and they'll be given the floor to speak.
Okay, are there any petitioners here that would like to be heard?
Yes.
Okay, my name is Emily Falco. I'm a fellow council member with Ms. LaPartie. I'm here with Vicki Bodine, manager of Roots Brewing Company, and we wanted to kind of bring up the discussion idea with the Public Arts Council of beautifying our alleyways to see if this could be something that could be done through this commission. So I don't know if you guys have talked about this at all yet, but originally we were thinking of trying to get some local people in our alleyway, the one kind of between the Brzezowski parking lot and Deed Street, to kind of clean that up and have some nice like hanging lights, and we were going to go through the Oneana Community Initiative grant that Mayor Drenick just put out. But then kind of after talking with Katie LaPartie, like we thought maybe it could become like a bigger project and maybe the city could take some part of the ownership of it, maybe providing electricity for the lights. I don't know. So,
And possibly extend it to the opposite alley.
right,
Which
yeah.
is now a memorial of sorts, but kind of turn it into more of a permanent, more attractive memorial and public use space, because people are using the space in both alleyways all times a day. It's a walkway and it's a gathering spot for people. So the main issue for us is, beautifying the space, but also lighting it up and making it safer for people.
Yeah, definitely safety is an issue. You know, when we work late at night at the restaurant and have to come out into that alleyway at night, it's really dark and can be kind of
There could
sketchy.
be some police call boxes back there too, or at least one.
Sure.
More cameras, yeah.
And actually, when Governor Hochul was at the opening of the Artist Lofts buildings, she focused on that alleyway. She walked past it and said, wow, that's a beautiful space to have public art, because there are other cities that have those alleyways with little dining areas. It's just a cool, tucked away space.
Yeah, it could totally be usable,
Yeah. it would be
more
great.
usable. Attractive.
I think it's a great idea, we just don't, we're in the process of approving our general plan, but so we have to, I think have to have a proposal, right? And then we don't know the exact process that we go through, but, and then someone will probably want to lead it from the community, or is that something that you want to like just say, hey, you guys figure it out, or do you want to have ownership in it and like, and lead a committee, or?
Well,
This is sort of my question too. Would there be a call for proposals for that space?
I guess that's why we're here now.
Or do we see it as a space that could have multiple proposals, or do you have a proposal in mind for it? Because I don't think we exactly have the authority to just choose something or make something happen. You know?
Right. So from your experience, what would you need as far as a proposal, like a mock-up?
If you got us
An
in some
estimate?
places to use as, for the walls, for example, then we can do that reach out, that call to artists saying, here's the spot, and then we can find that artist and the money to put that installation in.
Yeah, we would need to know that those walls were approved by the building owners to be used. Once that's approved, then.
And I think, hopefully, if that goes well, the rest can sort of follow. Because once you have one nice piece up, then I think maybe that will draw more people's eye there and want to really build on that spot.
Or we could have a description and a budget, a line item budget, and then we can figure out what to parse out to this committee and what to parse out to that larger grant, like lighting, police call boxes, things like that. I would think would go to that larger grant for the city of Oneonta, whereas artwork would fall under our purview, but it would be nice to have sort of a coherent proposal that maybe both committees could look at. I don't know, I mean, this is just common sense, I don't know what the protocol is.
Someone you may want to talk to is Bob Brzezowski. Originally, he wanted, that back window that where you enter the alley to also be a mural, like the murals that are along the side of the building. So maybe that GOHS might be willing to fund at least some lighting as you go into the alley on the back of their building, and that would be a start and would demonstrate that.
So you think it's best for us to just try and, so I reached out to, I think I included Bob and Marcy Micucci for the Historical Society, and then Chip Kligo owns the building, but I didn't hear back, so it's kind of like, do I have to get it, how, in your experience, should I try and get some kind of written approval for this? Should I submit a proposal and then try and get them to approve it? Should I do a mock-up? I guess I'm looking for a little direction if you guys have,
The murals on the side of the building were written through what used to be the deck grant, but now it's run through Earlville Opera House, that community arts grant. So maybe they would be willing to write a grant to get that back one done and include lighting, because the ones on the sides included plaques, which were all $500 a piece. So lighting probably really wouldn't be that much right on that corner.
Katie, where's our budget for just something that would fall under that big grant?
Yeah, so I mean, in my understanding, the DRI funds that are going to be shifted to this committee need to be spent on DRI approved things. Since it's in downtown, it would certainly revitalize. I mean, I would have to check on it, but it sounds like something that you would be able to use that budget toward if the committee voted to do that as a project. That being said, I think you're sort of on the right track, which is that it doesn't sound like it's strictly a public art thing, right? There's some beautification that you want to do. I think the OCI grant is a great idea for that. In terms of, I know Emily and I have talked about, you know, with the safety aspect in the city, maybe we wanted to do some of that on in terms of adding the lighting through there. We're talking about like cafe, like string lighting, so not anything.
Or like little gas lights. Like they
Oh, yeah, it's historic. Yeah.
a walk through there.
Yeah.
Some artwork and.
Yeah, I mean, and depending on what like the cost would be, I think that's where we're gonna run into, like, you know, we need to have the design, but then we also need to know what it's gonna cost, figure out where that money's gonna come from. So you've identified a grant for the public art funding, which is great. We have the funding that's being shifted to this commission that could be used for the public art. We forgot to put funding for the rest of it, you know, maybe the OCI or, if building owners wanted to get together to chip in a little bit to get it going. I think the idea needs to be fleshed out, in my opinion, and that's all I ever have. I think the idea needs to be fleshed out, and then we can sort of work on funding and whose responsibility is what. I think that would be the easiest way, is to figure out exactly what you want to do, and then give people pieces.
Yeah, and a line item budget, you know, approximate, and then submit that to us, and then we'll go from there.
Yeah.
Parse it out to.
I think community development is a really great option for that too, because, you know, we were mentioning like the gas lighting, that feels like a historic thing. Maybe there's something, you know, that community development, and we have the 7 to Save designation. Yeah, there might be a tie in there. There might be something that they know about that we don't.
Community development is another committee?
No, it's a department in City Hall. Yeah, because I'm just thinking like the backs of the buildings are, they would have to meet the code or get a variance from the code. So they would be the partners.
Who would be the contact, who's the contact for that?
I would allow Steven's out, but Steve really would be the best person for sure, because he is community development and code, so he'd be able to tell you exactly what you can do.
Well, who would be, I mean, by the time you know,
Oh, yeah.
get all this stuff together, maybe he'll be.
I don't think you don't have exact ideas in the artwork either. We could send out a call for proposals or something like that. That's what we can do, you know, that's kind of our job, right?
Yeah, totally.
You
And
need to know
But you could say,
which
we
walls
want
real estate we have access to.
Yeah.
yeah, and I think, you know, the committee is working on finalizing a master plan that's supposed to come. I think it has general lax approval from everybody, and so it's slated to come before council for discussion at our next meeting. But that delineates, like, you know, like Richard was saying, like, you know, since it is private property, you know, you're going to have to get the permission of the building owners, which you guys already know. And that the master plan really, I think, will delineate the steps of how to do it. But I think if you can figure out like where good places for that art would be, and try to obtain even just like handshake approval, like, yeah, we think this is good, then you know, yeah, I think then the commission comes in basically and says, okay, like, we're going to install some public art and does the call and all that stuff.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we'll start with our little alleyway then. I think we came, just wondering if, before we go to just focusing on this one area, could be done through this commission with every, you know, the whole alleyway.
Actually, we have to get approval kind of building by building from the
Yeah.
owners as far as whether or not they want us to put a mural on something.
It's tricky, yeah, I don't even know who owns.
So that's what I was going to say. I think the other thing is that we need to work out with our city attorney easements, like, because it's probably private property back there, and if the city doesn't own it, then we have no legal right to make any changes to it. So I would ask David Brzezowski also about turning those alleys into like public rights of way.
If you had a really great theme, like a railroad theme, historical walkthrough with gas lights and stuff, and pitched it to the property owners, I can't imagine anybody would be,
Yeah.
you if you came up.
Yeah, do you like prefer your dilapidated?
I mean, right now, it's, graffiti memorial for the person who was this. So to change that into something a little bit more permanent,
Yeah.
that's still honoring that.
And I think that's a great, because you wouldn't necessarily, you may consider a theme, that might be something that falls under the purview of this, since we're doing it as public art. But I think that's a really great example of something where there's like a prescribed theme that goes out as a call, like how would we continue this memorial? And then for sort of the rest of it, that would be, unless the commission comes up with a theme, that would just be an open call, right? You see this wall. I mean, I'm just guessing, based on what I've read.
I had conversations with Chip Kluge a couple of years ago. If you're looking at the back of the building, there's sort of the outcropping building on the right. And he had been, his mind could have changed, but at the time that I talked to him, he was kind of talking about something, like a train tunnel.
Right.
With an engine coming out, and then it's like, you even have that, on the other side of the building and going through the alley, like it's a flow through. And that's sort of the end of it. So, we might already have a team already there.
NBT wanted like a train thing back in their room too, which is on the other side of the Brucey's building
And-
parking lot.
And
At one point, there
so if you take that train idea, one of the things they did in Oklahoma City is they have, it's not an overpass, but it's a raised highway. So there's a wall, and it's got to be at least 3/4 of a mile long, and they did the entire thing as a passenger car. And in all the windows of the passenger car are famous people that are from Oklahoma City, like Ron Howard and Clinton and all that kind of good stuff. But then you can also have enough space where if people wanted to commission to have a portrait painted in the window, that's also adding funds to not only the artisan project, but potentially this.
And, let's have a train theme that pertains to the historical, roots of Oneonta, and then let the artists decide how we're going to do it. That's another way to do it, to give them some creativity.
A minute though, if you're sort of, is this growing off of the memorial that's there now?
No.
So it's
Not
not,
necessarily. So our idea for the lighting and just kind of cleaning up the space and recognizing that it is more of a walkway path through than it is a drive-through or anything else. People use it as a pedestrian walkway day and night. So it started in our alleyway, and then a few weeks later, the tragedy happened across the street. But it's easy to stand there and look both ways and see how you can have art, the whole way. It's a really great blank canvas.
do you foresee like with any additional uses to this space? Like would there ever be tables set there for eating or anything like that? Or is there anything?
It is our back alley. We can, right now it's where we just house trash. In the summer months, potentially, cornhole or some fun activity, but not necessarily anything permanent year-round.
I feel like there is something legally where there has to be a right of way. So there couldn't really be any kind of like permanent or nothing too
Yeah.
permanent there.
And the cornhole obviously would be like during our business hours if it was approved, but more just to beautify the walkway and make it safer lit. But because of this, then the whole memorial kind of seems like an obvious starting point to put some artwork,
How much vehicle traffic is there going through there, like at nighttime?
In the alleyway?
Yeah.
Oh, probably not, like hardly any. People will, if they're working on the buildings, they'll come,
Drop
drop
stuff
stuff
off.
off, come through, drop things off at their businesses.
Garbage trucks?
A lot of
Garbage
places.
trucks will come through. I feel like too, with the lighting, it would probably have to be, I don't know if a fire truck needs to get through there, so it would have to be,
Pretty high.
I don't know, those are things, I guess.
Which is what we envisioned, just like the canopy of string lights, kind of at a certain elevation, not.
In Europe, a lot of times they leave the road open until 6 o'clock and then they close it for the evening.
So like a removable bollard or something at the end down? Like a removable bollard, like a block?
Yes, exactly.
Good idea.
I recently saw I had sent it to Jim, who's not here, but there was a video and it was of an alley that had various geometric motions on it, like your alley. But basically, there was a sphere with some birds in it that they had painted, but it was on several buildings, so you had to walk to a certain point in the image.
Very cool.
It centers itself, and then it just separates as you keep walking. With an alley like yours, something like that would potentially be pretty fun.
Yeah, I think the call out to artists would be, we get lots of different ideas.
I think there's a lot of potential, there's just a lot of different agencies involved to make it. It's not going to be one of those simple things like, let's do this.
No.
But it seems like most, if not all of it, is private property. So, I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but that means if you're okay with it, like with the Roots building, you can just go and do whatever you want, as long as you know where that property line ends. And then you're clear with what city has in terms of a right-of-way right there. Because with private property, we need, permission from, said owner before we can even start doing anything. So even if you want to start there, if you have a spot in the back of the building that you want to put something, if you get us information on that, I mean, we can then just put a call out for this one section of the wall. And like I was saying earlier, if we can get something to just get the ball rolling, to show people the potential.
Yeah.
You could grow from that.
Yeah.
And you can do so much with just lighting, creative lighting, and
Right.
lighting displays, type of things that would draw people down to walk through and see what it was all about. It's so inexpensive.
Okay.
Yeah, well,
All right, this is a good starting point then, now I kind of have a better direction of
yeah.
where we need to go.
Cool.
So, okay.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Do you want to speak for the rest of the meeting?
I don't know. What are you guys talking about next?
Are there any other petitioners that would like to speak?
I don't have anything, just observing.
All right, well then let's move to old business, public art survey. So responses, I don't know, we haven't gotten any sort of email regarding that, I haven't seen anything.
No, we've had a total of 23 responses. There's,
How did that go? Because I don't believe I was even invited to answer
it's been, we've been putting it out on our social media, it's on the Public Arts Commission website.
Okay.
It's been shared a couple of times, but it's really not gaining the traction that I would have anticipated at this point. We're just about a month out. Honestly, out of the 23 responses, there is one that doesn't really care for it. That was the only negative response that we've gotten. The others have been generally well received, positive. A lot of big fans, murals, sculptures, painted crosswalks, and the utility boxes. Those seem to be ticking up as far as popularity goes. And we're also seeing a call for performing arts.
Like buskers?
Sounds great.
What are you doing this weekend?
As far as where people want to see public art in the city of Oneonta, just to name a few, Wilbur Park comes up, downtown Oneonta, public spaces, Main Street. 3 or 4 people would like to see it just absolutely everywhere. So that was nice to see. Motor Plaza, the gateways, the wall in front of Dollar Tree, which
Oh, yeah.
On Chestnut Street, that pops up a couple of times as well.
I like that though.
So as far as historical persons or events, what people like to see memorialized, the railroad and the river are a big thing. IBM, the history of indigenous persons, more park sculptures, the original Oneonta Theater, local heroes, Jerry Jeff Walker. So we're getting there. I'd like to get a couple more responses before I give you an actual report. 23 just doesn't seem.
Yeah, so maybe something we can do, I don't know if anyone has any ideas on this, but more ways to spread it. Email blast, friends, family.
Yeah, how has it been shared so far?
Social media and website.
When you say social media though, in what way?
The city of Oneonta has a Facebook page, so it's.
And so it is just posted there. Have people been invited to it? Has it been shared in any way?
We've had,
Or is it just sitting there waiting to be found?
so, we have, I'll get into the actual page where I can see the analytics. Oop, that's not really far, you just shared it.
I sure
I
did.
just got a notification.
A month ago.
I didn't know it went out. Now I know.
I'm gonna promote it.
Yeah, I guess that's my question, because social media only works when there's sharing or linking or something making it viral. When you just put something on a platform and let it sit there, especially Facebook, it only shows up if somebody checks in
If it's not active.
within an hour of you posting
The
that.
thing is, do we want to get inundated with 50,000 projects at once? I mean, if we could do something, a few of these.
But this isn't about projects.
Yeah.
This is a survey of the general public and only
Interest, right?
Yeah.
Do you like the idea of public art, and if so, what kinds of things?
But to what end are we doing this and what?
I agree with that question. Personally, I think it's an act of good faith to say the public should have a say, but I also don't think we should design an Excel out of it and like.
No, we're not making anything concrete out of it.
But I think it's an act of good faith to say this
But
is
also-
public art, you should.
If we get an overwhelming good response like we are so far, that's just gonna be something that we use moving forward. Like, look, the survey went out, the majority of the city that answered wants this, like, it gives us a little more of a stability to stand on when we're pitching ideas.
I
to
agree,
cost money.
although if only 23.
The thing is- As I've said many times, it is not our job to pitch ideas. It is our job to ask the community what you want. So they came to us with something. So we help facilitate that, and we're, the committee that helps to raise the money, and we approve it or disapprove it. We don't say, hey, I want a statue of General Clinton in the middle of Oneonta. We don't, that's not our job.
We'll have someone come to us saying, we want to put a statue of General Clinton in Lower Plaza. They bring that idea to us, and then it's up to us to make it happen.
I agree.
So then we're pitching that idea
What to who?
to the public, because we need funds.
Well,
We need support. I mean, if
We're
it's not
sort of answerable to the choice if we do greenlight something like that,
Right.
I guess.
It's hard
I
to say.
We're not.
Tell them not to have ideas, that's like, sounds impossible though. It's hard not to want to contribute ideas.
I think once we do one or two projects, and, this was the idea behind doing that flash project with the mural on the wall, that people will come to us and say, hey, there's a public art commission, this is what I want to do. And then that's how we're going to get interest, is by doing things.
I think doing the survey was sort of being respectful and sort of due diligence, and we can say at a certain point, well, the public was behind this, and it might give us a little more credential, It's not a negative thing. If we want to try to increase our responses, and maybe we need to bring it into physical space too, with like a flyer with a QR code, or, I don't know, get a free Dunkin' Donuts coffee by filling out this.
I agree with you. I think the point is so that we can say, the public was asking, this percentage of people were in favor of this, I'm sorry, you're not in favor of it, or whatever. But again, if anyone is a naysayer and they say, yeah, you only had 20 people respond,
And
then that's
in this
not.
day and age, everybody want to see data. So even if it's not extremely robust data, we tried, we did something.
Yeah.
And I think it does help us to then go forward on different
And it
things.
prevents us looking like we're
I
just,
think one thing to try is get a really compelling graphic and share it out on, we could share it out on the Hometown Fourth page and the first night pages and boost the post, and then thousands of people would at least get it and confine it to the Oneonta area. But maybe people just aren't, even our personal pages, like Ian, you have 1 million people on your Facebook page, and I mean, we could get it to thousands of people right on our personal pages.
Totally. I just heard someone, oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm done, whatever.
I just heard, I think, Kathy say about getting into the physical space from those Richard Lungs in the hallway, and I was thinking, like, what if you, whether it's a graphic with a QR code or something, like, put posters in places where public art could be, and like, you know, do you want to see, you know, art here, whatever the wording is, but that might be an interesting kind of guerrilla way to get people thinking about art in their space before they even take the survey.
Or maybe you can just use a graphic of, you know, James's mural on the Ford building, you know,
Yeah.
just because everyone loves that, and they'd look at it if it was hanging around town.
Yeah.
How long do we want the survey to be open?
That's up to the commission.
We can give it to next meeting. We can give it one more push, maybe throw it up on some personal pages, put it in physical spaces, kind of one last effort, see what we get. I mean, once it goes too long, it's stale.
So I think my only recommendation would be if you do want to do something, like get like posters and putting them up in a physical space, like figuring out who's going to do that work at this meeting before we end up back in our own bubbles.
I'm happy to do just a small 8.5 by 11 flyer design with a QR code, if we could just decide on what copy we want on it, what do we want it to say. We could say, like, we could keep it super simple, say, please take this survey on public art, you know, or, I don't know, I like your idea of tying it, like, would you like to see public art in this space, that might make them think if they go to the QR code, they're sort of signing up for the space, or I think to keep it very straightforward and one purpose is good.
I think a lot of people would like to weigh in their opinion on James's thing, just because that's our first big project, and if he said, do you like public art, and here is some, you know.
Yeah, just look at the comments on,
The comments are, was some hundreds and hundreds of people have commented how much they love it.
Throw a link just into that comment section. You know, you love the art, take the quick survey. That's kind of where we need to be putting it.
Help us out, take the survey.
Yeah.
Do you like this, do you want more, you know?
That's a good point.
So, I just photos of
Expand that.
James's, do you have photos?
so,
I shared it.
I mean, he was-
So I email
Twitter,
him,
on
say
Twitter,
it's James.
and it's personal.
Yeah, James would be happy to share it out too, I'm sure.
Yeah.
I'm sure James would be happy to share the survey out.
So I never met James in person, so maybe someone who knows him, you know him well, could you ask him to send me some photographs? And I can make a flyer and I'll send it around, and I'll just, you know, try to put the, and then you can change it with some, you know. And the survey, the address for the survey is,
On the post, but I will email it to you.
okay, and so then I'll make a QR code from it, and then, you know, I'm not in Oneonta all the time, so maybe I can, then when the design is finalized, whoever can just,
Yeah, if you can send it out to us, we can just post it as long as we
you know, the
can.
bookstore,
Yeah.
and maybe at least we'll up our responses.
Mhm.
That will, you know.
You can bring up your roots.
Yay! Yay!
And I would say, like, keep it simple, like, do you want public art, question mark, you know, and then in small letters, you know, take this survey.
Or what kinds of public art would you like to see?
What's in the survey,
have like an image
and
of
they
some
can put that
various,
into it there.
Yeah.
you know, some various locations that would be ideal. They aren't confirmed, but, you know, you can just put a dotted line and say future home of public art, question mark.
Don't, let's do that another time. Let's keep it very, very straightforward.
Yeah.
Take this survey.
Yeah, the flyers and walls, you just want to quickly glance read it.
Just not to let them get distracted in any way. Just take this survey.
So,
Thank you.
take the survey, we want to say it's about public art, right?
Yeah.
You could say
And
something, if you're gonna tie it into James's murals, you could say something about like, you know, hate to see this go. Take this survey, help us.
Have you enjoyed this piece of public art?
Yeah,
Something like that.
yeah.
Or, yeah, I thought we had said that we don't want to like set ourselves up for people to say no, like, I don't want public art, right?
Yes.
So we gotta rephrase the question, that's why I said, what kind of public art would you
Yeah,
like to see?
that's right.
Okay.
Right, or would you like to see more public art, like, well, that again, that's saying stuff for no, so we have to say,
Well, this flyer is just for people to go to the survey, so that's where we're asking the
Right.
So
question.
you're planting a seed of why they're going there, like what
Yeah.
their intention is. Are they going there because they're like, I hate it so much? It's a waste of money, or are they going because,
But it's also a flyer,
you're like,
Very good copywriting here.
Yeah.
Would you like to see more public art in Oneonta and then have an
Don't ask a question that you say no to.
yeah.
Say,
support public art.
or like,
Take this survey.
We want to.
Take the survey. Go to the survey. That's not public art.
How about what kind of public art would you like to see going on there?
It just feels too long for the flyer.
yeah, and specific.
We want your opinion.
Public art in Oneonta.
Public art is
Okay.
growing, give us your input here.
Public art going on to take the survey.
I like that.
Yeah.
Boom.
Done. Good group work, everybody.
You're hired, Andrew.
Okay, that's the one we're using. Got it out. Public art in Oneonta, take the survey, QR code. I guess we're looking at it. Okay.
Perfect.
Don't get to feel up.
Anything else on the survey, or good to move
I
on?
think we're good.
we should move through the agenda.
Yeah. Poet laureate. So Catherine
Okay.
brought in something.
This is unofficial because it wasn't up on the website 24 hours earlier, but, and here's, past winter. But I thought maybe just to get us started, I would put a list of tasks that we need to get moving forward on this. And who was it, Dr. Benson? Yeah, Bob had written a beautiful email that Jim had forwarded to us, which was very helpful. And what I did was take the sample timeline that was within that, and I kind of updated it if we were to start doing this now. And this is completely open for everybody to scratch out and change. But I thought if the call for nominations went out October 1st, I thought maybe September 1st might be a little too soon, and also because school starts, people will be distracted, and I thought October 1st, And then you can read it, December 1st, deadline for nominations. I'm just using the same time span, I'm just working its way. The only thing, my question is, June 1st, if that was the announcement of the poet laureate, is that a good thing to be at the beginning of the summer?
Maybe they could read their first piece at like the 4th of July or something.
That would be lovely.
It seems like it would make sense to tie it to some city event. I mean, I don't even know what day of the week June 1st is, so, is that Tuesday? I mean, that's,
Well, it changes every year.
yeah, that's what I mean.
Oh.
It's like, it might make sense to tie it to something other than
Oh, gotcha.
the first of the month.
Oh, you mean the announcement,
Yeah,
we
a
announced
public
it.
announcement, maybe at some event that the mayor is at, or where there's a city presence, or July 4th, holiday.
But if we want the poet to read or make up a poem for the 4th of July,
I see.
That's what I was thinking. that
Right.
they would
it's
need to
not even
have
great.
Make a selection, June 1, just not release it to the public until it's announced at the hometown court.
Something like that.
Yeah.
I know that everyone would love that first night / city celebration.
The suggested example had the poet laureate beginning on January 1st, which is nice and neat, a new year, and, and we have first night. So I don't know, but that would require us, it's too late to do it for this January 1st, so I figured maybe it's better just to move ahead. And do we want the poet laureate to be in place for 2 years at a time?
Yeah. There's no kind of letting them outside. I don't think years is going to be too much to.
Yeah. And, I'm sorry, I think I remember part of the conversation too that sounded like a critical component was, how many poets do we have to be sort of cycling through?
Right.
So I think if spacing out the term makes sense.
Sounds good.
And can maybe, and again, this is a question I asked earlier, can we expand that to the town of Onion?
I think so.
Bob Benson is a great, actually, a great candidate for this, but he lives one street outside of the city.
I mean, there's going to be like a million little points to put. I'm thinking that in the process of creating the application, we're going to have to make a lot of decisions, a lot of little decisions to identify exactly how this will work. So that'll be kind of crucial, is writing up the application.
Can I just say, I love this document. This feels like we are going to move this along, which is great.
But thank you for putting it together. Hey, I felt totally guilty because I've been postponing it, but
Relatively guilty because I was supposed to.
good, let's do it together, it's so much more, yeah. But, so, yeah, and just like in reading through it, we're gonna have to identify like how many things we're going to expect from this person that we name. We don't want to go crazy, 7 days a week, yeah. And I think we're gonna have to probably also get permission to use their work in other places, to get it, like if we want it in storefront windows, or if we want it in the buses. So I don't know if that involves lawyers, I don't know.
Probably, yeah, in terms of like, I'm sure they'll need to sign some sort of contract for their service and like you said, using their intellectual property, and so just similar with like the mural, right? We sort of became the owner of that, or he retained the right, whatever it says, a lawyer figured that out, so we can have, so we can have our attorney do it.
I got a couple of applications from other cities, one from Syracuse. So I'll kind of base it on one that exists.
That's a great
And,
idea.
but then we're gonna have to decide a bunch of little points, so maybe I'll try to get that for next week. All right.
24 hours in advance.
And then there's the next. Anything else?
No.
Thank you for your work on that.
We had another petitioner here that wanted to say something. Is that you? Did you want to?
He was, all set, yeah. All right, master plan. So I sent y'all kind of what we have right now. Seems like everyone is pretty happy with it. So I think at this point, it's just up to the council. You know, next week.
Yeah.
Or not next week,
For next week.
Just an Untitled Chapter discussion.
Okay. The only question that I had, if it's okay to ask it here, is with the phrase, it's on page 5, where it talks about the public art coordinator. If I'm recalling correctly, that was the city clerk for the Ford sales mural. Do you want to read through it? Basically, it says that they'll collect the applications, ensure that they're complete, and then pass them on to the commission. If they're incomplete, then they correspond with the person who submitted them and tell them why they're incomplete.
Okay.
So I think that was the city clerk for the Ford sales mural. What I wanted to make sure before we go forward with codifying this as a process is that that is a sustainable addition to the roles and responsibilities of that office.
That's you saying that's something you need to clarify.
And well, the city clerk is here, so I'm sort of speaking in the second or third person about it. Just pose that question to the room.
If city clerk is willing to fill that role, if not, maybe we could come up with something where we sort of divide and conquer, and, you know, as stuff comes in, there's a list, and we just go down the list, one comes in, it goes to Rich, next one comes to me, and so forth and so on.
Sure. The chair could be
Yeah.
designated as the public art coordinator, sorry, Jim.
Yeah, I like that, actually, we'll do that.
Yeah, I just want to make sure that we are talking about the process as it applies to the real, logistics that we already have set up.
Yeah, and that's, I forget the exact wording, that's originally specified in specific, where we could sort of move that rule around, but I think
That makes
we'd be
sense.
willing to be flexible, and I mean, that is something that needs to get done before actually that admin stuff.
Yeah, I think having that figured out, like, who's going to do that back end admin is important in order to move forward.
So is that something, like, you think you need an answer for that before next week, or if it comes out, what do you want to just our answer?
I guess I don't know the answer to that. I just wanted to pose it as a question that needs to be figured out. It doesn't necessarily have to be figured out today, but it does need to be figured out before we move forward with any sort of submission process.
Cool.
Yeah,
Makes sense.
for sure. Yeah, because the thing is, we created an email address for the public arts commission, right? Oh,
No, it just goes to the city, right?
okay. To me, sure. I can't promise anything. Well, what I was thinking, my initial train of thought there was if there was a municipal public art email, that would be easily accessed by a third party. So it could be not the city clerk, because they would be in a designated spot, and then you could have access to it, but so could other people in the commission, for example.
I think it would be a big help in general. I don't know logistic-wise what we're allowed and not allowed to do, but if there was an email address we all had access to, that we, anytime we wanted anything from the public, that they sent it there and we just see it. I don't know if that's something the city can do, or
And we can set up distribution lists with city emails. So the public would see it as publicart@onehonda.ny.us, but the actual address would be distributed internally.
oh,
Oh, right, common council. So boom.
Yeah.
Okay, so it would have to come to me. Okay.
So just,
But then I can forward it to you. Yeah, perfect. Let's do it.
I can take that with you.
Yeah, okay, cool. Let's do that.
When someone sends an application or something, is there like a Dropbox or a folder that everything goes into that numerous people have access to?
That's a good idea.
We do not currently have a business level Dropbox.
How about Google Drive?
We have a City of Oneonta Google Drive. I don't know what the size limits are on that. I don't use Google a lot.
I hate Google Drive, but we don't manage our
I have a Google address, a Gmail, that I use for, I don't use it, but it obviously has a drive attached to it.
We have, our streaming accounts are through a city-based Gmail,
Okay, so we could figure that out. Okay, cool.
any other thoughts, comments, master plan?
Good work.
Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful.
You guys should officially vote on it? Does that sound?
Yeah, we're voting on whether it goes to the common council.
What's the rest of next week? Can you make a motion?
I would keep it.
Bye, thanks you guys.
Yeah. I think Carrie heard. Oh, sorry.
and two
I
kids.
shouldn't have to hear.
And two kids, I know.
Yeah, 100%. Okay.
Cool. Okay. No need for any further discussion.
Yeah, any further discussion? All right.
Bye.
Aye.
You have to vote yes or no on moving the plan up to the council.
Absolutely aye.
Commissioner Barlow?
Aye.
Commissioner Vanderbilt?
Aye.
Commissioner Rothnick? Aye. Commissioner Spitzer?
Aye.
Commissioner Vitolo?
Aye.
Passes.
Sweet, you guys just passed the master plan. Woo,
Yay.
big deal. I'm so
Right.
excited to present it to council next week. Thank you. Yeah, let's get you guys some funding, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
People usually leave when we pass things?
They stayed a long time.
They
That's it,
Immediately, right.
So next up, the public safety building mural. So I know Jim, of course he's not here, was in contact with someone regarding that,
Brian Knapp.
maybe?
So this is Andrew.
Andrew? So was Jim speaking with you regarding the public safety building mural?
I can't remember offhand if he sent me an email or not.
I presume that's why you submitted.
Yeah, like for, yes, the proposal that I have.
It's in the back, last page of your packet. It says.
This was kind of like a last minute Annie thing.
Yes, I've seen it,
Okay.
thank you. Got it up here.
And that was a very free sketch one. I don't know if you guys want to pass it around or something like that.
As far as the city-based public safety update, I don't know if there's, but it's one of the petitioners.
Okay.
Yeah, so I'm sorry to, help clarify. So I had been chatting with our fire chief, who had a suggestion for art on the public safety building that's separate and distinct, although they're just unified by that being a space that's recommended for public art. I know what his vision is, but I didn't directly ask him. I should have invited him to this meeting to talk about it. But so he has an idea that is not this one, that could be discussed in a future meeting, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it's something like this, well, I guess it is a public building, so it would be,
Public building, and I feel like this would just fall under, you guys receiving multiple proposals for a public building and deciding, using the criteria and deciding which one.
yeah, I was gonna say, so are they bringing us the design and we find the artist? Or is it more, here's our general idea and then that's the proposal we're putting out? Is this something we
Let's
wait
see
until
what
next
it
meeting,
says.
we have more information?
Maybe they bring us the concept, and then we throw out the concept, and the artists come up with a manifestation of it. That's what it is.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it sounds like.
Yeah, but you have multiple sort of suggestions of concept, so that's something to consider, is that I would recommend considering all of them.
Who's designed this one?
I was mostly on the Microsoft Paint app thing. I just more or less screenshotted the thing and I was just like, something at least to reflect 9/11 at least.
Yeah.
So is that the concept of public safety and sort of like, don't let 9/11 happen again? Is that the idea?
More or less divided we fall, united we stand type.
So that would be the concept, right?
Yes,
So then just take those words and then we put that out and then the artists will come up with,
yeah, something like that.
because this is really particular to New York City, so.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe we can get in touch with the police chief and see if they have a more solid vision
Yeah.
before we sort of move forward.
Yeah, do you want him to come and talk to you guys, or do you want him to just email what he's sort of thinking?
I guess my question is, when you say solid vision, I feel like, as an artist, what I would want is an abstract vision. What is the idea? And then I have the freedom to
That makes sense.
come up with a manifestation of the idea, rather
Yeah.
than,
So just.
here, we want the Statue of Liberty and the buildings, you just paint it, we're hiring you to paint it, and that's all.
I guess it feels
Yeah,
like
that
the
makes
chief, the police chief, or, excuse me, fire chief,
Fire chief.
he's kind of the one presenting this idea, so just
Right.
have
So to
more from
understand,
them.
so what, are we
Yeah.
honoring the firefighters,
Yeah, it was
their lives that day.
general, yeah.
Honoring public service, you know.
So that's divided we stand, or united we stand, divided we fall,
Yeah.
right? That was the concept, so
Yes.
that,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many ways that you could.
Right, but I guess my question is, are they really hoping there'll be 9/11 themed or not, you know? 'cause-
So that's Andrew's suggestion.
Yeah.
I guess I'll just speak to it a little bit. So he had mentioned, and he has a prescriptive vision, but to your point, if I'm gonna just make it a little bit more abstract, basically of like police and fire sort of unity, and then respect for the flag, because there's that big flagpole, and he'd like to do it on the wall that is like right when you enter public safety, and have police and fire representation, and then sort of in reverence of the flagpole that's there. Does that
That's all
make
stuff that
sense?
you can put in the paragraph, and
Yeah.
then there's so many ways that artists could, you know, come up with that, and then, you know, he could be in our committee to help us decide, or, you know, you'd be a guest commissioner, or
That's a
something,
fantastic idea.
that kind of thing, and, you know, because he might see something and say, wow, I didn't think of that, but that's really great, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a fantastic idea to involve in the process.
It's
Yeah,
also nice that, I like the idea of like having something on the wall that's interacting with something that is waving
yeah.
and moving, like that's pretty interesting.
Could even be a mirror, I mean, I don't want it, things I don't want to do that, I don't want to public idea, I think we
Right.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
this is my natural.
Request for proposals
Right.
that
Well, what is it?
focuses people and
Yeah.
gives them freedom as well.
Right.
I think that's a really nice project, like early project for the commission. A, because it's easy, right? It's a public building. You know, we have the support of the people who occupy that building, which is great. I don't know if it counts for the funding. It might be outside the funding, so. But I think too, like, it's sort of an inarguable concept, that I think that a lot of the folks who feel maybe not as positively about public art will appreciate that sentiment.
Is it on the interior or the exterior?
Exterior,
Oh,
yeah.
that's fun.
Yeah, like, you know, okay, so you're looking at the public safety building, and the fire bays are here, and the main door is here. There's that wall that is kind of the outside angle of the garage, the police garage, and that's where he wanted it to be. And I know Jen had mentioned the doors, the fire bay doors, which, you know, are great spaces as well. And what's interesting about those is that they open and close, so you can do something interesting there. But, yeah, so I guess the question is, do you guys want to take this on as a mural? As a project?
Yeah, I don't see
I
why not.
think too, I think it's great. You're just gonna talk to him and figure out what he wants in his, you know, the description.
Yeah.
And funding.
And you've got to tell him that we want it, you know, the artist can come up with different, he might have something in his head, but, you know, we can't promise that that's what the artist is gonna create.
And I think that's probably going to be a conversation that you guys end up having more than once with more than an individual about a variety of projects. I think when folks come with something that they have in mind, it's typically pretty prescriptive, and so, you know, being able to articulate why and the value of that, I think, is really important. So thanks for bringing that up, that makes a lot of sense.
That is a very important point, like, are we gonna ever play the role of just sort of providing a skilled craftsman to execute somebody else's ideas, like you said? That's probably not what we want. We want more of a creative, we want to give artists opportunity.
Yeah, well, I like how you said that.
When Cooperstown called for murals, they said they wanted baseball teams and representing the Sunday.
But they didn't say there must be a baseball player over here behind them.
A bunch of suggestions.
Things are wrong, public art is always like that, it's always like, so it's like a memorial to the Pulse, you know, tragedy. Right, and you need to memorialize these victims, but then you'd be within, so you get around years. Freedom. Right.
But we need to, in writing a call for proposals for something like this, honor the intention of the person who's asking us to get this proposal out, and also honor the work of the artists who are hopefully going to surprise us with their interesting and powerful interpretation of the thing, because they have a skill set, and that's why we're going to them, rather than just having every building owner draw what they want.
And that's totally normal to have like a little subcommittee working with like the overall commission that's an expert on the particular project.
Cool.
So I don't know where Paul's happened, that was probably, it was at Tampa or whatever, they had like, Orlando, so they had like, multiple.
So do we want to invite him to our meeting next time?
I think it's a good
Be
idea.
able to ask him questions and try to dig deeper?
Yeah, cool. Okay. I will officially invite him to the meeting. This is all nice. Yeah.
So any other points for the safety building? All right, so Foothills Performing Arts Center mural. So this has kind of just been an ongoing conversation. I think we all just agree we want to see something on that wall.
Make it look less like Home Depot. I mean,
So I was the one who was tasked with reaching out to the board. I reached out to get a contact, Jeff Doyle, who works there, it's awesome. And basically, I was asking for some contact, and the head of the board was out of town. But he said that he had actually already been talking to them about it, because he thinks it's a great idea. That's how good we are, people. We have people already doing the job for
I've been
us.
trying to talk them into that exact same thing for like, ever since Dick Miller, that mural on it with local performers, sort of like the Muses in Philadelphia.
Yeah.
Does
does it have to be a mural, or can we just say wall art? Because we are getting a little mural out now.
What's that?
Everything is a mural at this point. Can it be, does it have to be a mural, or can it just be wall art, like mosaic tile?
Well, yeah, I mean, that beautiful
Yeah.
mosaic
Yeah.
in Binghamton, the woman who does the whole riverfront in mosaic. You could do a combination with mural art and mosaic art. With
So we
really
would just
sparkly-
call for art that's gonna be on the wall, and then the artists, and we could say this could include,
Yeah.
mosaic, et cetera, so we can open up the.
It's a perfect wall for that because it's flat.
Yeah.
And you could use the parachute cloth style that they do in Philadelphia, so it wouldn't be a gigantic painted, someone wouldn't have to be on a scaffold for, 6 months doing it. It's not as, I don't think it would be as hard, because it's flat, I don't think it would be as hard a project as you think for that size of everything.
What do you mean by parachute cloth? You mean that you actually, it's like a billboard where they put the cloth?
Yeah, they paint the mural in squares and then they glue it up in squares on the building, so you can paint it at your studio at home. And the mosaic, have you seen the mosaics in Binghamton? The whole riverfront there is just these beautiful arches and it's sparkly and it's a brilliant mosaic artist there that does large scale stuff, and a combination of the two would be just fantastic.
I do agree, then putting out a call for proposals for that, rather than just saying the word mural, we talk about the site.
Right.
That this is the site, the wall has these dimensions, and this is the kind of thing we're looking for a proposal, so that then an artist who wants to make several layers of bas-relief out of layers of aluminum or something, feels free to
That would be
propose.
so cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I learn so much every time I come to this meeting.
I
It's nice.
I think they should put a glassed-in walkway from one end of the foothills to the other end.
I think they should encase it in
Stuff,
another
so you can get from one side to the other without having to go through the back of the
Just self-reverse and use the profit to
Yeah, that would
renovate
be
the building
great
after
too,
theaters.
along the side of the building.
Nice.
Yeah.
That would be expensive. I have to go.
All right.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
Foothills, we're good?
Well, we're quite finished. finished, I ended up calling the head of the board, because while Jack brought the suggestion of art on the outside of foothills to the board himself, and the exception of one person on the board, they were all very positive about it. So I called the president of the board, and I'm supposed to set up a meeting with her when she gets back from vacation.
Awesome.
So it sounds like they're already anxious to have something, but what that is, we'll remain to be seen. So.
Okay.
You said all but one board member was on board? Okay. I just want to make sure that I like report that accurately to council, because I think they'll want to know more about that.
All right, so any new business? New business?
Not really. Greg LeBlanc from Lollipop Tattoo approached me because a lot of his artists, his graffiti and spray paint artists would like to do, they saw what James did on the Oneana Sales building, and they're dying and itching to do some public art, and they just wanted to put it out there that they'll work very inexpensively, and they just want to do it, and they're really actually super good.
So if the city could come up with,
What's that?
Tell them to spray paint on the Ford building, we'll see what we got.
Well, I thought, like, I was gonna put canvas up on Damascus Field fence and let them do it on 4th of July. I just was too busy to get it together. But there's the tattoo artists in this town are.
well, what about the
quality
parking garage?
artists.
So if the city says, says, okay, yeah, you specifically can go and do your art here, do your thing. If they want to work inexpensively, maybe do their thing. If they have that space, why not let them?
But the parking garage is about to be renovated, right? So this would be the same as the Ford building, like a
Yeah.
temporary thing?
Because otherwise we're going to need permission from private buildings and go through that whole process. And
Unless we worked through, the wall in front of the dollar store that we were talking about, or freeway overpasses or something like that.
anything the city's willing to let use, really.
And I was actually marching in the parade with Len Carson, and he said, wow, you guys should have used, I have this special, I don't know if it was vinyl wrap or whatever, but it's something that you can paint on that's removable, and you can roll it up and save it. He said if you had wrapped that building in this stuff I have, you could have taken it off and used it for the 4th of July, or put it on the fence, or, you know what I mean? So that's a suggestion too, that.
Now, what procedure would be used with these folks that you're talking about, Lollipop Tattoo? Would they have to come to us with a proposal?
Yeah, I mean, they're willing to do that.
I think
They
we would
could
need to
just-
have real estate first, that we'd have to have a place for them to propose for.
And then would be, last time we sort of said, well, we at least have to invite other artists.
I think we do.
I think so, I don't think it can be like friends of the committee get the gig.
Absolutely.
If we had a removable vinyl, that whole really ugly thing around the parking garage, that's a huge amount of real estate that couldn't be any uglier if we tried.
Although it's going to be renovated, so,
It will
but
be, but
yeah,
I
for
don't
now.
know
One day we'll have
how.
public art with the heat.
I have to go to Freedom.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
We're losing our quorum.
Yeah, I don't know.
You guys.